Olivia's ostentatious display at the banquet had inflicted a profound blow to Rachel's self-esteem, but nothing could come close to the devastation of discovering Sadie Diaz's body on the grass immediately following the fireworks show. Why was she even up on the roof? Rachel had asked multiple people multiple times. Most people surmised that Sadie had planned to meet a boy up there because she left behind a picnic blanket, but no boy came forward afterwards to admit to being with her. Later that evening, Rachel tearfully found solace in her daughter Monica's comforting presence. Monica, slightly vexed by Rachel's weeping, furrowed her brow. Her mom never cried. Heck, her mom never really showed any weakness whatsoever. Mommy, are you okay? She was unsure how to help her. Usually it was the other way around. I'm sorry this happened, Mommy. Monica was frightened and sick to her stomach over Sadie's untimely passing. The accident had been so horrific. Most of the adults had shielded their kids from seeing it. But she felt even more scared watching her mother break down in front of her. This was all so new. Rachel just shook her head. My birthday will forever be tarnished, she thought, tied to this sad, dark accident. No one in Manhattan society will ever want to celebrate on this day again. There will be memorials and charity events set up in Sadie's honor. As well there should, I suppose. But what about me? It's not fair I should have to experience something so shocking and lose my own ability to celebrate going forward. As soon as Richard Kors found the body, the party had ended. Rachel and Michael had to spend hours afterwards talking to police, talking to the Diaz family, trying to piece together how exactly the girl fell from the roof. Had she snuck alcohol? Had she merely slipped? The finger was pointed at Rachel for having alcohol at a party with minors in the first place, as if that wasn't normal for everyone in Manhattan to do. The Diaz family was livid that nobody in the staff stopped or even saw Sadie before she made her way onto the roof. It was a disaster, and Rachel felt personally responsible, and privately more nervous about her social standing now. Would the other women find reasons to kick her off the board of charities? Would they restart those old whispers of how she stole Michael away from his first wife and talk behind her back about what a tramp she was, unfit to walk among them? She let a little girl die at her house while she was celebrating, they might say. Oh, God. Rachel began bawling again. What will happen to my reputation? Monica hated to see her mom like this. It was scary how inconsolable she was. Rachel was usually her rock. Monica heaved a sigh and voiced her concern more directly, growing somewhat tired with her inability to affect even the slightest change in her mother's mood. Mommy, what could I do to help? She asked. When there was no response, Monica gave up. Mom, I'm sorry. I was wrong. Monica mumbled with her head lowered. I shouldn't have made things more stressful on you earlier by being grounded. I'm sorry I did anything to Olivia before. You have enough to worry about. Enough, Rachel sighed, shaking her head. Let's not talk about Olivia. You have to heed my guidance next time when it comes to her. Just be kind to her, at least in front of everyone else. Rachel gently lifted Monica's face and spoke with earnestness. You are my most cherished treasure, Monica. I want only the best for you. I want you to be the most powerful woman in Manhattan one day. I don't want you to have to ever encounter a room or circle you don't belong in. That's why I do everything I do for myself and for you. Do you understand? Yes, Monica nodded. Her thoughts shifted back to Olivia, who always seemed to stand in her way lately. She couldn't help herself. She needed someone outside of herself to be mad at. Someone at whom she could direct all the anger and confusion and sadness she felt right now after Sadie's accident. She pouted and steeled her resolve. We should get rid of Olivia, though. What? Rachel was taken aback. Why do you keep focusing on her? I wish it was her who died today and not Sadie, Monica groaned. She surprised herself with her own honesty, but she was feeling emotional and raw, so she couldn't help herself. Monica, Rachel said, surprised, never expecting such words to emerge from her daughter's lips. Sorry, Monica muttered. She couldn't figure out exactly why she was so obsessed with Olivia right now. She knew she'd just promised to leave Olivia alone, but maybe it was the fact that when everyone had been standing outside, shocked to find Sadie at the bottom of the mansion, Monica looked over at Olivia and she seemed to be smiling, or like she wasn't surprised. Like maybe she knew Sadie was dead already, even as people tried CPR. That, or she was just smug and didn't care what had happened. Either way, it bothered Monica, and when they locked eyes, Monica got an eerie feeling. "Mommy, let's find a way to get rid of her," Monica said. "We must get her to go back home, or else she'll keep making problems in our life." "Honey, what happened to Sadie didn't have anything to do with Olivia." Rachel tried reasoning. "You have to let this go." She worried her daughter was only focusing on Olivia as a way of coping with her grief, so she didn't have to think about how her own friend was gone forever. Like it gave Monica a new task to work on. But Monica's words also made Rachel hesitate. Maybe it was good to give her daughter something more concrete and productive to focus on than the loss of her friend. After a prolonged pause, Rachel nodded. "I think there's some truth to what you're saying, though." In truth, the idea of eliminating Olivia didn't seem entirely unfavorable. Rachel did worry that things were changing too quickly in her house. The family dynamics were shifting with Olivia here, and ever since Olivia arrived, bad things had started happening. Like Olivia was a bad omen, or an evil talisman, bringing bad luck to everyone she came into contact with. "Maybe you're right," she muttered, deep in thought. "Maybe we must get rid of her." Monica looked up, elated. "How?" She felt lighter already just at the thought of being rid of her half-sister. "Don't worry. I'll handle it." Rachel's eyes narrowed, brimming with coldness and hatred. The more she thought about it, the more she harbored the certainty that this time she could bring out Olivia's demise. Olivia was a young girl. She may have been cunning, but she wasn't smarter than Rachel. Rachel could find ways to drive her from their house. Or, Rachel considered, what if a terrible accident befell Olivia? They had just experienced a terrible accident with Sadie Diaz earlier, hadn't they? Accidents happened all the time. There were plenty of ways for a person to meet a similar fate, weren't they? If Rachel could figure out a way to make it look like something happened to Olivia by accident, she wouldn't have to simply worry about sending her away from the family mansion. She could get rid of her more permanently. Rachel nodded, then looked at her daughter. "But Monica, I need you to just lay low for a while. For real this time. Let her think she's won. When school starts, let her go on like nothing has happened, like nothing is amiss. Then, I will strike." She contemplated her plan for a moment. "Say nothing about this to your father." Monica grinned. "Of course not." Unbeknownst to Rachel and Monica, who spoke conspiratorially on the other side of the mansion, Olivia sat deep in contemplation in her room, completely oblivious to their malevolent intent. Engrossed in her thoughts, she diligently scribbled doodles into her small journal. Whenever her mind was occupied or devoid of thoughts, Olivia would wield her pen and inscribe a stream of musings within her compact notebook. Sometimes mere words, sometimes phrases. She would weave these fragments into ideas, helping her get out of her feelings. She did this often when she was younger in her past life, and over time her journal began to feel like her best friend, especially with very few people around to confide in. Once she moved in with her father, she relied on her journal to help her make sense of her life. Of course, in her last life, Monica and Melanie found the journal, made copies of it, and showed it to everyone in Manhattan with a working email address. So all of Olivia's secret crushes and confessions were exposed. It was yet another humiliation that made Liv cringe now, thinking back to it. Now, to avoid history repeating itself, Olivia made sure to write in code, so nobody could decipher who or what she was talking about. Her revenge list was called her grocery list, and instead of writing on it, Rachel, Monica, Melanie, she wrote radishes, M&Ms. It seemed innocent enough, but it ensured Olivia's secrets remained safe with her. Flipping through the densely filled pages of her small notebook now, Olivia delicately inscribed a single word. Lion. She whispered the name. Chris Jones, and her eyes gradually darkened. The prominence of the Jones family in New York City was indisputable. They were like a pack of lions reigning over the kingdom, and they wielded a power even Olivia's father couldn't touch. If Olivia could secure Chris as a friend or confidant, he would undoubtedly offer invaluable assistance. Olivia didn't seek his direct involvement in her revenge, rather. She craved the weight and influence of his name. It would deter any potential plotters from hurting her, sparing her much trouble. Contemplating her options, Olivia sighed and closed her small, leather journal. How could she actually entice Chris to take more than simply a passing interest in her? She could tell during their meeting at the banquet that he only really even talked to her out of obligation, because his stepmom held something over him, and then he bailed the first chance he could. He probably wished to avoid encountering Liv ever again. She needed to explore alternative approaches to getting to know him. Maybe if she ran into him somewhere outside of a forced, stuffy family affair, she wondered. She reopened her journal and flipped to the next page. The Citadel, she wrote. That was her code name for her new high school. The new semester was set to commence in 3 days, and Olivia couldn't hide her disdain at the thought of the people she would encounter there. Pamela, she thought, thinking back to the woman who had killed her in her past life. In 3 days, I'm going to re-meet the woman who ended my life. She swallowed hard at the prospect. In her previous life, Pamela was a social climbing backstabber who lured Olivia into a false sense of security by befriending her, and then betraying her trust and going after Olivia's boyfriend and career. In the end, Pamela callously discarded and trampled Liv to death. Pamela, Liv thought, eyeing her diary, you truly are the worst in a very long list of worse. She flipped back to her page, where she'd written her revenge list. Her pen zagged around the crossed-out word, pomegranates, good for Pew, as in Hector Pew, and continued up to the top of the list, where the word peach was written. Pamela was the first person on Olivia's list, and she vowed to get revenge on her even if it killed Liv. This time around, my victorial will be determined by strength, Olivia thought, frowning with disgust as she contemplated the upcoming confrontations. And I'm going to destroy her. Over the next 3 days, Olivia remained confined mostly to the mansion, refraining from venturing much into the city as she prepared for her big debut at her new school. She did her nails, had a hairstylist come to the house to make sure her hair was on point, and got ready to wow everyone. A memorable entrance is the key to a perfect first impression, Olivia thought, and if I'm going to establish myself as a powerful force to be reckoned with, a girl nobody should cross, then I better have the confidence and look to back it up. On the first day of school, Olivia arose before dawn and styled her hair and makeup before putting on her new school uniform. At breakfast, she exchanged simple pleasantries with Rachel and Monica, who was wearing entirely too much makeup. I hope you have a good day at school, Rachel smiled. Me too, Olivia said, curt. Bitch, Rachel thought. I should make that call today to see about my plan. The sooner I can eliminate this thorn in my side, the better. As long as I can find an opportune time. Are you ready, ladies? One of Michael's rotating chauffeurs interrupted to ask, looking from Olivia to Monica. Olivia wanted to know what Rachel was referring to in her thoughts, but couldn't listen in any longer because the chauffeur stood waiting for a response. So Olivia nodded along with Monica, then descended the stairs that led to the long driveway, and soon embarked on the hour-long commute into Manhattan. Monica ignored Olivia entirely, listening to music with her headphones in for the whole drive. Good, Olivia thought. It's not like you provide stimulating conversation anyway. One can only listen to whining for so long. As they pulled up to the school, Olivia's gaze fixed upon the gilded sign that read, Marshall High School of the Upper West Side. With determination radiating from her clenched fist, Olivia drew a deep breath. Today, the real test begins, when I come face to face with Pamela Cox again. But all the remorse and regret I felt at the end of my last life, she promised herself, will never be repeated again in this one. She steeled her nerves, looked around, And as soon as the chauffeur opened the SUV's back passenger door, Olivia fixed a smile on her face and stepped out onto the pavement. With her school bag gracefully slung over her shoulder, Olivia proceeded towards her classroom. Upon entering the room, she spotted Pamela Cox, who stood casually by the window, engaged in lighthearted banter with someone. The radiant smile, illuminated by the sun's rays, concealed no trace of malice. Olivia froze for a second. She looked so deceptively nice. Finding a seat against the wall, Olivia knew the teacher was going to rearrange everyone shortly and pick their seating assignments at random anyway. In her previous life, she had been seated beside Pamela, which ultimately led to their close friendship. Olivia had confided in Pamela, sharing every thought and concern, but that proved dangerous. Olivia suffered, while Pamela managed to make a name for herself, eventually becoming the student council president and getting into Princeton. Will she be so lucky this time around, though? Olivia wondered, eyes fixed on Pamela. Hey, you! A bespectacled girl with ebony-rimmed glasses placed her hands on Olivia's desk. What a coincidence! We're in the same class! Wendy! Olivia's eyes widened upon seeing the girl. I called your old place several times looking for you. Wendy beamed. Your mom said you went back to your father's place, and I thought I wouldn't see you anymore. Wendy, so much has happened to me. Olivia wanted to explain. Wendy had been her dear friend back in primary school, when Olivia's mom worked 3 jobs just to send her to a decent school in Wendy's neighborhood. They remained in the same class during high school, too, once Olivia transferred to Marshall in her previous life. When people would bully Olivia, Wendy was often the sole classmate who bravely defended her. But once Wendy went to college in Palo Alto and stayed on the West Coast after college, they gradually grew apart. Olivia now beheld Wendy, who had shown her genuine sincerity, standing before her once again. How could I not be filled with excitement? Olivia thought. In her previous life, she had been lost, but now her heart understood that while she was here to punish and teach lessons to those who had harmed her, those who had treated Olivia well deserved her gratitude and help. It is so good to see you, Wendy said. I can't wait to catch up. Engrossed in her conversation with Wendy, Olivia remained oblivious to the scrutinizing gazes directed her way. Pamela, seated near the window, engaged in idle chatter while surreptitiously observing Olivia. She had not been privileged enough to attend the recent banquet at the Johnson house because her parents were considered new money from tech startups. So while they had money, it wasn't considered real until they'd proven their ability to hold on to it for a few generations. Pamela had heard from a friend about Olivia Johnson's notable debut, though she'd forgotten about it after hearing that Sadie Diaz had fallen tragically to her death. For the last week, all anyone in Manhattan private schools could talk about was Sadie, as people whispered about what she was doing on that roof. But now, watching Olivia, and realizing she was not only in the same grade but the same class as Pamela remembered what she had thought while learning her friend's stories the other day. I have to befriend Olivia, she decided. A glimmer of ambition sparked in Pamela's eyes. Forging a friendship with one of the Johnsons could prove very advantageous. As she thought this, the classroom door opened and a hush fell over the room as the teacher entered. He appeared to be in his mid-20s and exuded a youthful energy and vigor. He wore carefully styled short brown hair, a crisp white shirt, well-tailored pants, and nestled a pen in his shirt pocket. Fair-skinned and handsome, he revealed a polished smile. Olivia noticed that some of the girls were swooning. Approaching the lectern, he spoke, "No need for formality, I'm not much older than you." Turning around, he inscribed his name on the blackboard behind him with a piece of white chalk. "My name is Adam, and I'll be your English teacher. The school will try to insist you call me Mr. Reed. Don't do that. That's what my father's called." A ripple of laughter went through the room. So he's a cool teacher, one of the students beside Olivia thought. Another wondered, I hope this means he doesn't give us homework and lets us talk on our phones during class. A smile graced his lips as Adam continued. I actually attended Marshall High myself before pursuing a degree in English at the prestigious Georgetown University. Which reminds me, don't study English if you want a high-paying job. The class laughed again. But all that being said, you're not just my students, you're like my junior siblings. With a flick of his hand, he tossed the chalk onto the desk, leaning forward with a sudden seriousness. As your senior, there's something I must warn you about. Every eye fixated on Adam, the room brimming with apprehension and curiosity. Is he going to be a hard-ass? One kid wondered privately. Adam paused before breaking into a mischievous grin. Don't do anything to make me send you to Principal Verdon. Trust me, he's been here since before I was here, and he'll be here long after you're gone. The only constant in this world is death and Principal Verdon, and I'm not sure which is worse. So yeah, don't give me a reason to send you to his office. Just be cool and I'll be cool, all right? A momentary silence hung in the air before laughter erupted from every corner as the teacher-student dynamic between Adam and the class grew closer. Olivia couldn't help but smile faintly. In Olivia's last life, Adam had consistently proven to be an exceptional teacher. Despite her numerous troubles, Olivia always found he offered encouragement and made her feel like schoolwork could be the one place she could take refuge from her horrible home life. One time, when Monica dated a guy in Olivia's class who accused Olivia of cheating off of his test, and the school then announced her expulsion, Adam had gone to great lengths, pleading with the principal to grant Olivia an opportunity to retake the test. Unfortunately, her examination experience was marred by a tempered breakfast. Also, the work of Monica, with the help of Hector, resulting in a significantly compromised performance. Olivia felt immense regret for letting Adam down back then. But now, I got my second chance, she smiled, and I've already taken care of Hector. Observing the students before him, Adam smiled and announced, All right, first things first. As much as I love the idea of you all choosing your seats, I've learned the hard way that just encourages the social kids to socialize and the stoners to sit in the back and fall asleep. Everyone laughed again. So we're going to draw lots to determine the seating arrangement. As there are 30 students in our class, 2 individuals will share each desk. Retrieving a square box from beneath the podium, he continued, Come forth and draw your designated number to see who your desk partner is. It's like the Harry Potter sorting hat, but more boring. The students proceeded to select their numbers one by one from the box. As everyone had selected their numbers, Adam inscribed the seating arrangements on the blackboard. When it was her turn, Olivia reached in and hesitated for a moment before picking a piece of paper. I hope I'm not seated next to Pamela. In fact, I hope I'm on the opposite side of the room entirely. She worried whether fate would intervene and seat them next to each other again. She read her piece of paper and discovered she had been assigned to sit behind Pamela. Crap, she thought. Her shoulders slumped and she shuffled to her desk behind Pamela. Hi, neighbor, Pamela said, turning around and greeting Olivia with a friendly smile. I love your hair. The curls are so pretty. What's your name? Although Olivia longed to unleash a torrent of scathing remarks and a series of well-deserved slaps, she restrained herself. Meeting Pamela's gaze, she responded simply, Olivia. Weird, Pamela thought. Why isn't she being more talkative? Am I coming on too strong? God, Pamela will do anything to climb the social ladder, Olivia thought, including engineering and tailoring her personality to the person she's trying to suck up to. Olivia hadn't understood this in her last life, but she did now. In that moment, a girl seated in the second row, adjacent to the wall, raised her hand and timidly muttered, Adam, I would like to request a seat change. All eyes turned to the girl and her deskmate. She appeared fearful, casting wary glances at her deskmate, a boy with long, greasy hair and brooding eyes. There was something disconcerting about him, an air of gloom that sent shivers down her spine. She absolutely did not want to be paired with him. He seemed like a potential menace, perhaps even a school outcast. Although her deskmate clearly expressed his dissatisfaction at being called out like this, he refrained from uttering a word. He merely glanced at the girl and then shifted his gaze to the other classmates, lowering his head in resignation. Lame, is all Olivia heard him think. Curious, Adam inquired, why do you wish to change seats? The girl desperately wanted to convey her aversion to being paired with the weirdo beside her. Because he's creepy, she thought. However, voicing such sentiments would undoubtedly dissuade Adam from accommodating her request. so she bit her lower lip and stammered, My eyesight is severely impaired, and this seat makes it difficult for me to see the blackboard clearly. Adam appeared torn, caught in a quandary. Adam? Olivia raised her hand, interjecting. Allow me to switch seats with her. My eyesight is perfectly fine. Olivia currently occupied the seat in the middle of the third row, a spot coveted by many. Yet she willingly relinquished it to another. Her classmates looked at Olivia with surprise and bewilderment. If the girl were in her position, she would never surrender such a prime location. All right, Adam nodded, grateful that someone was willing to accommodate the girl's request. He acknowledged Olivia with a nod, prompting her to introduce herself. May I know your name? I'm Olivia, she replied with a smile. Very well, you guys can switch seats, Adam declared. Olivia collected her belongings and exchanged seats with the girl. As she settled into her new spot, she turned to the boy beside her. Hello. The boy glanced at Olivia and then averted his gaze, completely ignoring her friendly greeting. Undeterred, Olivia paid no mind. If memory served correctly, this kid was named Jeremy, and intentionally isolated himself from others. No problem, Olivia thought. Sitting here is still better than being close to Pamela. She'd take every step she could to distance herself from Pamela. Pamela, meanwhile, furrowed her brows in displeasure. How will I manage to establish a connection with Olivia now? Having an in with one of the rich girls in school would benefit Pam's future greatly, so she wasn't ready to relinquish the opportunity quickly. She glanced over her shoulder at Olivia, wondering how to get close to her. The bell rang, signaling the end of first period, and all the students grabbed their backpacks. As Olivia made her way to the exit, Adam stopped her. You said your name was Olivia, right? Olivia uttered a faint yes, unsure why he was signaling her out. That was kind of you earlier, when you volunteered to switch seats with one of your fellow students. I know you had to leave a good seat for one in the corner, but I like when someone takes that initiative to help out another classmate. He nodded, impressed. Oh, thank you, Olivia replied. I had ulterior motives, she thought, but she didn't mention that. Her mind flashed back to a memory from a past life. In that one, it was Pamela who Adam had stopped to talk to after the first day of class, saying he was impressed with the way she had led a class discussion. At that moment, Pamela's lips curled into a dissatisfied expression. This Olivia is calculated, isn't she? Being a little teacher's pet, Pamela thought. That's the problem with distinguished families. They're full of conniving individuals who know all the ways to cheat their way to the front of the line. It seemed that Olivia had intentionally maneuvered herself into a favorable position with the teacher by any means necessary today. What a cunning plan. Adam exited the classroom, and Olivia headed out the hallway behind him. Wendy scurried over to catch up with her. You're so foolish. You let go of such a prime seed. It's just a seed. I have better eyesight, so I can comfortably view the blackboard from where I am now, Olivia replied, spreading her hands. Wendy shook her head helplessly. You'll always be at a disadvantage sitting that far away. Being at a disadvantage can be a blessing. Olivia smiled with an indifferent gaze. As long as she distanced herself from Pamela, any seat would suffice. Move aside, Olivia's deskmate finally spoke to her, trying to hurriedly get to his next class. All right, Olivia stepped aside. After Jeremy slid past them, Wendy nudged Olivia with her elbow. Liv, your deskmate looks rather intimidating and eerie. He's not bad, Olivia smiled. Regardless of how intimidating Jeremy might be, he was still far better than Pamela. At that moment, Pamela approached and greeted Olivia with a smile. Hey, Olivia, right? We got cut off earlier when I was introducing myself. I'm Pamela. Nice to meet you. Olivia glanced at Pamela's extended hand and subtly curled her lips. She had no desire to shake hands because she found Pamela repulsive. Suddenly, a girl walked up from behind Pamela and positioned herself between them. She grasped Olivia's hand and exclaimed, Liv! I was wondering if we'd see each other before lunch. Millie! Olivia smiled upon seeing Millie. Her timing was impeccable. Ignoring Pamela, Olivia continued speaking to Millie. Allow me to introduce you. This is my friend, Wendy. Then Olivia turned to Wendy and said, and this is Millie, a friend I met before school started. Hello. Wendy extended her hand and shook hands with Millie. She smiled and added, I'm Wendy. Olivia and I have known each other since we were young. Hi. Millie nodded politely and quickly said, would you guys want to hang together after school? We finished class early on Mondays, so it could be fun. Olivia smiled to herself. I forgot how eager Millie is for friends, she thought, but I like it. She appreciated how genuine her new friend was. It was far more preferable to the underhanded way Monica and Melanie acted. Okay, Olivia replied with a smile. It would be delightful for the girls to go out, enjoy some treats, and engage in conversation. Away from Pamela's prying eyes, Liv thought, sensing Pamela hovering over her shoulder. Wendy pondered her meager allowance in her pocket and hesitated. Can I afford to hang out and get a snack after school? Olivia read her thoughts and understood Wendy's concerns. She linked her arm with Wendy and said, let's go together. Last time you treated me, and I never got a chance to return the favor. Consider it an opportunity for me to repay you. Wendy was clearly touched. Okay, yes, thank you. That is so sweet. She grinned wide. I'm in. Perfect, Olivia exclaimed, linking arms with Millie on one side and Wendy on the other. We're going to have so much fun. She glanced over her shoulder at the fuming Pamela, rendered speechless by her anger. Olivia intentionally shrugged and turned back to say, sorry, did you need something? She asked Pamela innocently. Pamela didn't know what to say. She didn't express her desire to join them for fear of being rejected or coming off too thirsty. So instead, she gritted her teeth and replied, no, nothing. Cool. Oh, you might want to step aside. My deskmate is coming up behind you, eager to pass. Olivia shrugged nonchalantly. Pamela turned her head, planning to apologize with a perfect smile, only to be met with a pair of malicious eyes brimming with disdain. Startled, she couldn't even utter an apology before hastily moving aside as Jeremy walked past Pamela, his face expressionless. As he roamed the halls, lost, looking for his next class, Olivia stifled a smile, amused at the interaction. Having such a gloomy deskmate isn't so bad after all, she thought. At that moment, Jeremy mouthed two short words, thank you. Olivia was momentarily taken aback. Locking eyes with Jeremy, Olivia nodded, certain of his gratitude. You're welcome. Jeremy turned away once more, and their communication ceased. The 5-minute bell rang for their next class, and Millie and Wendy motioned for Olivia to walk with them. Pamela wanted to say something, her lips moving, but no words came out. Dejectedly, she turned and headed to her locker to quickly drop off some books. Olivia sat beside Millie and Wendy in her next class because there was no assigned seats. As they chatted, a bald, middle-aged man wearing glasses pushed open the door, his expression serious. In her last life, everyone called him Disapproving Dickens because he always seemed to wear an expression like he just sucked on a lemon. Quiet, everyone, he said, his voice silencing the classroom instantly. I'm Mr. Dickens, and this is AP Government. And not surprisingly, I also run the student council. Oh, that reminds me, who's running for class president? By the end of the month, we will be choosing, so if that's something you're interested, pick up the intent to run form from me today and begin campaigning next week. At this moment, Millie and Wendy looked at Olivia in unison. You should run, Wendy whispered. Why? Olivia quickly shot back. That seemed like so much responsibility. In her past life, it had been Pamela who was class president, and Olivia thought she always seemed so stressed by the job. You saw the way Adam singled you out as a good student and like a thoughtful leader or whatever, Wendy shrugged. Yeah, but I've only been the president of the French club in middle school, Olivia said, and I don't even speak French. I just like the baguettes. The club handed out free baguettes and brie, and since Liv's mom didn't have much money back then, Liv joined to get as much free lunch as she could. Oh, it's fine, Millie interjected. Think about how you helped warn me from that pickpocket. That's total boss energy. And we need a boss like that in charge around here. I say go for it. Yeah, and it would look really good on your college applications, Wendy agreed. We all do like 17 extracurricular activities for our applications. I would run for student council, but I'm already in sports and in the drama club and doing equine therapy for kids after school some days, and Millie does ceramics and fencing. That's true, Olivia conceded privately. This could be good for my applications, and I could take something else away from Pamela in the process. Power and influence. I could destroy her in more ways than one. Olivia smiled to herself. I may have powers now, but if I'm going to live my life fearlessly this time around, I should at least try to be the most powerful girl in school in every way possible. Pamela was the first student to hand in her intent to run form to Mr. Dickens. She had already emailed it to both of her parents, had them e-sign it and send it back, before printing it out at the school library and dropping it on Dickens' desk at the end of the day. Impressive, he said, an eyebrow raised. This shows initiative. Well, this is what I'm known for, Pamela beamed. I've been class president the last 2 years, and I don't intend to slow down now. In fact, I have big ideas for how to expand my role. Junior year is an incredibly important one in a student's life, and I think I'm the person to guide my fellow classmates through their journey to excellence. She spoke officiously and earnestly. God, she sounds like a nerd, Olivia thought, walking up behind her as she entered Mr. Dickens' classroom. How did I let someone so dorky kill me in my past life? Olivia sidestepped Pamela to hand Dickens her intent to run paper as well. When Pamela saw it, her eyes went wide. What the hell? Why is this new girl running? She thought. Is that allowed? Pamela quickly asked Mr. Dickens. Can new kids run for student council? We only have a month to vote. Well, nobody'll know who she is, he shrugged with a cold snort, but there's nothing in the rules against it. Pamela laughed gloatingly at Mr. Dickens' dismissal of Olivia. She liked that he essentially called her a nobody, and her mood immediately improved. Sometimes a clean slate is a good thing, Olivia smiled slyly, eyeing Pamela. People don't always want to repeat the past. They want something brand new and different. Trust me. Pamela frowned, irked by this. Getting to be president each year wasn't just part of her identity. It was part of what made Pamela important in school. Needed. Everyone had to look up to her when she was the head of their class. This new girl's coming in and ruining everything, she thought. She just wants to waltz in and disrupt my plan from the day she shows up. She doesn't even need this like I do. Olivia felt warm inside hearing Pamela's thoughts. This is almost too easy, she thought, watching how quickly she could ruffle Pam's feathers. As soon as they were out of earshot of Mr. Dickens, she walked up behind Olivia and sneered. Good luck, because, well, it's... Mr. Dickens is right. Nobody knows you, so you're going to have a hard time running against me. I think I'll be all right, Olivia replied coolly. Besides, that's not true. I met everyone who means anything in Manhattan society the other day at my family's banquet. Oh, but you wouldn't know that, would you? I guess you weren't invited. Olivia made a fake pouty face. Sorry about that, I guess maybe you're the nobody after all. She turned and left Pamela seething in her wake. What a bitch, Pamela thought, prompting Olivia to smirk. Let the games begin, Olivia thought. The fight between Olivia and Pamela to become class president quickly picked up speed. Within a few days of declaring they would both run, Pamela had already found a group of kids to help her with posters, campaigning, and the construction of a suggestion box, so she could claim she took every single student's feelings to heart in the entire junior class. She's literally spending all her time and energy on this, Olivia thought, laughing. But if Olivia wanted to make every inch of Pamela's life miserable, and she really, really did, she would have to put a little effort into thwarting Pamela's dreams of being class president. It wasn't enough simply to kill Pamela, she decided. No, Liv would have to torture her, slowly, for months, years, and gradually take from Pamela everything she ever wanted or loved or held dear. Only then would Olivia even begin to approach what Pamela had done to her. It's not just an eye for an eye, Olivia thought. It's every freckle for every tiny freckle. Every hair and eyelash and limb, for every hair and eyelash and limb. Everything you did to me, everything you took from me, I will do and take from you. Then I will be satisfied. Thinking this, Olivia felt excited. She decided to put her stepmom and half-sister and their little minions on the back burner for a moment, because she knew that she really needed to start messing with Pamela immediately. Besides, Rachel seemed withdrawn after the untimely, accidental death of Sadie during her birthday, so she decided to go on a wellness retreat to her favorite spa upstate for a few days, giving Olivia a brief reprieve from her family's scheming. I'll turn my attention back to my family soon, Olivia thought, once Pamela's suffering begins. Olivia spent the next several days putting together her team to help her campaign. Mostly it was Millie and Wendy, but they gathered some friends from their clubs and extracurriculars to help make posters and schedule an interview in the school newspaper so people could get to know Liv. And Olivia even hosted a little afternoon tea with girls from her grade so she could wow them with her big mansion. People are superficial, she thought, but I might as well use that to my advantage. It proved successful. Within a few weeks, people were whispering about how Pamela and the new girl, Olivia, each had an equal chance of winning the class elections. Olivia even read some people's thoughts as they told Pamela they would vote for her, only to really think, I'm curious to see what happens if I vote for Olivia instead, though. She smiled, thinking of how her plan was already working. That is until 2 weeks into the new semester, when a kid named Sam Feinstein announced he too was going to run for class president. Sam had been vice president both freshman and sophomore year, and apparently he was ready to step up from Pamela's shadow and begin his ascension to head of the class this year. I have a legacy to protect, Sam thought as Olivia watched him in history class. My parents both went to Yale, and I need to ensure I'll get it. And vice president doesn't secure an acceptance letter anymore. I've got to win the top spot or nothing. Crap, Olivia thought. Beating Pamela was easy enough. Pamela was a tryhard who didn't actually have the money or means that the other kids did. And in a school like Marshall, that mattered. But Sam was popular and tall, and his parents had a private jet. In fact, the reason he'd never tried to be class president before was because he sometimes took an extra week off from school each semester to fly with his parents to their private island in the Caribbean, and he never wanted to be held back in New York City because of his added responsibilities. Sam was so well connected, he would ride his skateboard through the halls after school, and teachers looked the other way. Skating was strictly forbidden, and if the principal ever saw, Sam would be in trouble. But the teachers were usually paid bonuses by Sam's family to give him good grades, so they wouldn't say anything. I just want to thank everyone who encouraged me to run this year, Sam said in his impromptu speech when he announced he'd be running. And I want to thank everyone who ends up voting for me. I know you won't regret it. It's time to take this class to the next level. No need to give a speech, Olivia thought as others applauded after Sam's announcement. Literally no one else gave one. This isn't an actual political election, it's high school, get over yourself. She huffed as she sank into her desk chair. Sure, Sam would probably beat out Pamela too. But simply seeing Pamela not get president wasn't enough. Olivia wanted to be the reason Pamela didn't get it. She wanted Pamela to suffer at her hands, not someone else's. That didn't feel satisfying. So Olivia silently cursed at Sam, deciding to bide her time until she could figure out what to do about him. Over the following 2 weeks, as elections approached, Olivia tried to find an opportune moment to get Sam alone, but it proved exceedingly difficult. The kid was always surrounded by friends, or attached at the hip with his girlfriend, and when he left school, he had a bodyguard since his dad was a foreign dignitary who was so paranoid. He thought his family would be kidnapped if they left the house alone. What a joke, Olivia groaned, frustrated. Do you really expect to win this thing? Monica asked one morning on the long commute to school. Your class election? I wish we could take 2 different cars to school, Olivia thought. Monica always tried to make digs at Olivia when she wasn't listening to music, and it was starting to feel more like an irritating gnat than anything offensive. Seriously, Monica said when Olivia didn't respond. Like, does anybody even like you? And do you even know anybody? I know Chris Jones, Olivia shot back, knowing this would bother her half-sister, who she'd seen had obviously developed an immediate crush on Chris. She knew Monica wished her parents had set her up with him instead of Olivia. Monica clenched her jaw. "Chris Jones doesn't go to our school," was all she could manage to say. "You'd be surprised how many people I already knew before transferring," Olivia replied. Monica's brow furrowed. "What's that supposed to mean?" Never mind. Olivia wasn't about to start discussing her past life in earnestness with Monica. "Do you have something to do, like listen to a pop culture podcast, or to some Taylor Swift or something? Or shouldn't you be scheming with Melanie about something instead of bothering me?" She smirked. "How's Melanie's hair, by the way? It's probably good she goes to an all-girls school, considering growing one's hair out from that short can go through a lot of awkward lengths. Must be a real confidence suck." Olivia watched as Monica tried to come up with an adequate, blistering response, but failed to. "You're such a bitch," Monica squealed instead. "And you, my friend, are so eloquent," Olivia taunted, pushing Monica further over the edge. Monica exhaled in the corner and crossed her arms, exasperated before putting her headphones on. "Whatever," she mumbled, turning away to face the window. Later that day, as she packed her bags and closed her locker, Olivia bid farewell to Wendy as she prepared to go home. She was nearly out the building when she realized she'd left her algebra book on her desk in class. "Crap," she thought, doubling back through the school until she reached her classroom. Olivia grabbed her book, thankful it was where she left it, then headed back towards the school's entrance. The halls had mostly cleared out, except for a few stragglers and kids sitting around talking, and for the athletes who were milling around, filling up their water bottles at the water fountain before their practices started. "Coming through," Olivia heard over her shoulder, and she turned to look who it was. Sam, she thought, locking eyes with him. He was on a skateboard, rounding the corner as he sailed down the hall. Olivia and a few others quickly, reflexively shuffled to the sides of the hallway to let him pass. "Beep, beep," he thought, seeing her. "Uh-oh," she joked. "It's the competition coming through." "What competition?" Sam said slightly disdainfully, like Olivia was beneath him. She jumped into his head to read his thoughts. "She actually thinks she could beat me? Dumb poor girl from the slums. My family takes out trash like her for breakfast." At this, Olivia's eyes narrowed. She looked right, then left. Yes, she thought, this was one of the rare moments Sam wasn't with his girlfriend or bodyguard. Her body started to tingle. Now's my chance. Olivia realized Sam was moving too fast to be able to stop and focus on him long enough to choke him like he had the store clerk Felicity, or send him over a cliff like she had Hector. And he was about to turn into a hall up ahead, so she quickly zeroed in on the back left wheel on his skateboard instead. Then quickly, deftly, she flicked her wrist to the side, almost like she was opening a doorknob, and suddenly the wheel came off the skateboard. Sam quickly veered left and he jumped off his board, skidding directly into a group of girl soccer players standing around the water fountains as his board flew up and hit one of the girls in the shin. "Ow!" she yelped, kneeling over. "Oh my God, oh somebody get Coach Avery!" The sounds of howling were coming from Callie Edwards, the team's star player. They were set to play their longtime rivals tomorrow night, and Callie had college scouts coming to watch her. "If you just screwed my chances, I'm gonna kill you," Callie yelled at Sam between howls. Olivia smiled to see herself at the far end of the hall, away from all the mayhem. Callie would be fine. It was probably just a gnarly bruise, but nothing too bad. She was just a drama queen who was known for yelling at refs. It's Sam who should be worried, though, Olivia mused. He's the one who's not going to walk away unscathed. Olivia watched as the girls' soccer coach ran out from the team locker rooms to find out why his star kicker was yelling so loud. As soon as she told him what happened, he fixed his gaze on Sam, eyes narrowing. "You? Principal's office. Now." Olivia watched, enthralled. "It wasn't my first choice," she admitted. "I was hoping maybe he'd endure a little more physical pain for calling me trash. But it was impromptu, and I only had a few seconds to act," she assured herself. Besides, as far as punishments went, Olivia had achieved her goal. The next morning during first period, Millie turned to Olivia and said, "Did you hear what happened? Sam got suspended for riding his skateboard in the halls. I guess he, plowed into the girls' soccer team or something, and Coach Avery went nuts, and Callie Edwards' parents called threatening the school." Olivia looked surprised. "I hope she's okay." "She will be," Millie said, "but Sam can't run for president anymore, because you're not allowed to run if you, even have a detention on your school record. So he's screwed. What an idiot, right?" Millie laughed, so Olivia did too. Now there was just Pamela to focus on. The day of the student elections, Olivia woke up feeling wonderful. Life was going according to plan. She was making friends at school, keeping Pamela at bay, and planning a way to get closer to Chris Jones, who had taken off for a few weeks to attend some art event with his parents in Miami. Even Rachel seemed to be kinder to Olivia, though she had been in Paris for the opening of Couture Fashion Week, so maybe that's why things were so quiet. Melanie didn't dare come around the house without Rachel there either, probably because she felt she needed protection from Olivia. So everything was peaceful on that front too. Good, Olivia thought. Melanie should be scared. And without all her allies around, Monica had become like a little timid mouse, at least for now. Monica and Olivia barely spoke on their way to school, and didn't even acknowledge each other when they locked eyes in the bleachers during their school-wide assembly on the day of the student elections. In front of them, the nominees who were up for election were all taking turns to get up and give their final speeches prior to voting. "You and your half-sister don't look anything alike," Wendy whispered to Olivia when she noticed her watching Monica. "Is it weird living with her?" "It's nothing I can't handle," Olivia smirked. "But she is annoying as hell. She whines all the time." "What's her name again?" Millie asked. "Monica." Olivia rolled her eyes. "And her mom is Rachel, so she named her that so they could be like the best friends in the show Friends." "Wait, are you serious?" Millie laughed. Olivia nodded. Rachel would probably never admit it out loud, but Olivia caught her stepmom thinking about the genesis of Monica's name once, and it made Olivia laugh out loud. "That's so basic," Millie giggled. "Welcome to my life." Olivia rolled her eyes again. "It's me and the two basics, and my dad." "And next we have Miss Olivia Johnson," the principal said into the microphone, prompting Olivia to stand and excuse herself from her seat in the bleachers. When she reached the podium, Olivia realized she could read the thoughts of most of the students sitting before her because they were all packed into the assembly room so closely. She used this to her advantage, delivering a rousing speech about how she hoped to bring a new perspective to the school in order to effect change. Every time she saw concern or question pop into a student's head, she answered it, inspiring a sense in her peers that she really understood them. "Wow," one kid thought in the front row. "It's like she took the words right out of my head. She really knows what she's doing." When Olivia locked eyes with Pamela, also in the front row, she heard Pamela thinking, No, she's actually doing a good job. What the hell? Is she actually going to win this whole thing?" Olivia could see Pam was getting more and more nervous, taking sips from her water bottle to fix the dry mouth her adrenaline was causing. When Olivia was finished with her speech, she smiled, thanked everyone for listening to her, and returned to her seat with a grin, knowing Pamela had to follow her. Hello," Pamela stammered. She looked unsure and stuttered through the rest of her speech. "I'm really shaking her confidence," Olivia smiled to herself. "I might actually win this thing." After the long string of speeches were over, everyone voted and then returned to their classes. It was a tense few hours before final period, but Olivia felt an excitement brewing within her. Finally, with just 10 minutes until the final bell rang, signaling the end of the school day, the principal came over the PA system and said, "We have a special announcement. Here are the results of the class elections." Olivia waited patiently as the class president, vice president, and treasurer were announced for the freshmen and sophomores, and then looked over at Pamela as the principal said, "And now, for junior class president, we have..." There was a pause. "Pamela Cox," Pamela was saying over and over again in her head. "Say Pamela Cox, please say Pamela Cox." Olivia Johnson, the principal announced. Millie and Wendy both cheered uproariously as the rest of the class clapped with various degrees of enthusiasm as Olivia smiled. She was still getting used to so much positive attention. Relish it, she told herself. After everything that happened before, you deserve it. I'm gonna kill her, she heard Pamela thinking. She doesn't even care about being class president. She doesn't need it the way I do. I hate her. The school bell interrupted Pamela's thoughts, and Olivia immediately stood up and approached her desk as everyone else gathered up their books. I'm sorry for your loss, Olivia whispered to Pamela with faux concern. But I guess the best person for the job won after all. She flashed a little smile and continued on. I hate you, Pamela thought, her nose scrunching as she scowled. Hey, Liv, Millie called after Olivia. We should celebrate. How about you, me, and Wendy get some food and milkshakes or something over by the park? We can go shopping too. Olivia considered. I love a milkshake, she smiled, and a shopping spree. Olivia found Monica outside of school and said, You can tell our driver I won't need a ride home. Monica's eyes narrowed. She gets class president and suddenly she thinks she's so cool. Who says I'm not doing something after school too? Maybe I don't need a ride home either. Have you ever thought of that? She retorted. Are you doing something after school? Olivia replied. Monica looked down. No. Exactly, so tell our driver he doesn't need to wait for me. She shook her head. See you at home. Monica gritted her teeth and said nothing, so Olivia turned and headed back to her friends. She could hear Monica curse her name every time another kid congratulated Olivia on her win today. God, this life was turning out to be so much sweeter than the last one. Once Monica's gone for good, Olivia mused, it'll be even better. And Rachel, and Pamela and Melanie, and Beatrix Cooper too, for that matter. All in due time. For now, Olivia would just enjoy her win. This life was all about balance, she decided for herself. She would pay those who hurt her back, but also enjoy all these new highs she was experiencing too. Vengeance meant nothing if she didn't have sweet moments to enjoy too. So she walked down the sidewalk, headed to the hip new food court near Central Park that housed a bunch of different tiny cafes, everything from Thai food to Italian calzones to happy hour oyster specials to Indian French fusion cuisine. It was a popular after-school spot among the private school kids of Manhattan, so there were always tons of kids Olivia's age milling about and socializing there. She and her two friends chatted as they walked. Pamela followed them with gritted teeth. She was both angry with Olivia for usurping her title of class president, but also jealous she wasn't invited along to get food with her. If Pamela wasn't going to get the power and attention she desired through Marshall High's political system, she at least hoped to climb through the ranks of its social hierarchy. But it seemed that Olivia Johnson was making both difficult for her. She glared at Olivia, frustrated, before slinking into her own private car. Why had school gone so terribly so far? Don't worry, Pamela assured herself. This too shall pass. There will be many more opportunities in the future for her to secure Olivia's friendship. You just need to maximize your charm and somehow win that aloof girl over. Thinking this, Pamela took a deep breath and tucked her hair behind her ears. This is just the beginning. Just be on your best behavior, win her over with kindness, and everyone will like you. Pamela decided she would do whatever it took to pander to Olivia, since Liv was one of the wealthiest girls in school, and they had so many classes together. So there was plenty of opportunity to grow close if Pamela tried hard enough. I can use her resources, Pamela grinned, and her access to get anything and anywhere I want in life. Up ahead, Olivia turned back to look at Pamela's car as it pulled away from the curb outside of Marshall High. She sensed Pamela was inside, thinking about her, but she was too far away to know for sure. Olivia, what are you thinking about? Wendy nudged Olivia's arm and asked. Nothing. Olivia shook her head. Let's go. I'm in the mood for something delicious. Are you familiar with this area? Millie asked, confused by how Liv seemed to know exactly where to go to the new industrialized food court. Not really, Olivia shrugged her shoulders, but I asked one of my drivers. After a few blocks, she pointed to a large black and white building and said, "There's amazing barbecue sliders and sweet and sour pork, I hear, and like 16 salad and pizza and seafood options if that's your thing." "I want all of it," Wendy giggled, rubbing her empty stomach. She'd overslept this morning and hadn't been able to eat breakfast before rushing to school. The three of them went to a Moroccan street food stand, beckoned by the irresistible flavors wafting out from its ovens, and sat down after they ordered their food. Olivia noticed 3 high school students from another school order food right behind them and take a seat a couple of tables away. 2 were guys and 1 was a girl, and when she rolled up her sleeves, the girl revealed a large phoenix tattoo. "3 Moroccan chicken plates," the cashier called out after a few minutes. "Oh, that's us," Millie said, eager to dig in. She stood and said, "You guys stay, I'll get the food." She hurried over to the cashier to collect their food tray, but when she did, the tattooed girl stopped her before Millie could grab the tray. "Hey," the girl said aggressively, "those are ours." "What?" Millie said, confused. "No, we ordered this." "Well, so did we," the girl said, her tone menacing. "And I'm starving to death, so why don't you just sit down and wait for the next order to come up?" The cashier, who was maybe 16 and barely 5 feet tall, looked too nervous to intervene. Millie went quiet too, and her voice got hoarse, her ever-present smile faltering. "Well, we ordered first." "So?" the girl said, defiant. "I don't want to wait." She looked Millie up and down. "And you clearly get enough food, so why don't you sit down and let me have this?" Olivia couldn't take another second of this. "Wait here," she told Wendy. Then she stood up and crossed to where the tattooed girl was confronting Millie. "Is there a problem?" "Yeah," the tattooed girl said. "Your little friend here is trying to take me and my friend's food." "That's not true," Millie tried to say, but the girl took a step forward like she wanted to fight, so Millie looked down and stopped talking. "Listen," Olivia said, her voice even and measured. "This is all so silly. We're really going to get into a fight over chicken, of all things?" She laughed. Now that she was standing up close, she noticed the girl wore a nose ring. "Millie, let's just let her have the chicken." "But it's fine. Ours will be out soon, I'm sure. And all that time she's wasted getting all territorial over some seasoned chickens probably made hers go cold anyways." Olivia smirked and the girl's eyes flickered, like she felt stupid for making such a big fuss over something so small. But without saying anything, she took the tray, turned, and headed back to her table. Watching her, Olivia felt a tingle of anticipation. Not so fast, she thought, eyeing the girl. Olivia squinted, then concentrated on how much she loathed the girl's haughtiness, how much her arrogance pissed her off. Olivia was done condoning the behavior of bullies, regardless how small their transgressions. She wasn't going to repeat the mistakes of the past. She nodded almost imperceptibly, and suddenly the girl tripped. It was like one of her feet tripped over the other, causing her to stumble forward, dropping her tray and all of its contents in the process as she tried to extend her hands to break her fall. The girl landed in a tangle, covered in red sauce and spices. Immediately, everyone in the vicinity, about 300 high school kids in total, erupted into loud laughter. All confidence fled the girl's face, and she looked up at her 2 companions, who were doubled over with laughter themselves. "Shut the hell up!" she yelled at them. One of them stopped, but the other kept laughing. "Oh no," the one who stopped said, looking at her, his eyes growing concerned. "Yasmin, I think you ripped your nose ring out." The girl's hand shot up to her nose immediately. Crap, she thought. When she searched for her ring, it wasn't there. All she could feel was warm blood and the torn cartilage dangling from her nose. The silence that followed was deafening. The girl with the tattoo looked furious. "Laugh again. Try laughing again." She was holding her nose and staring defiantly at the groups of kids sitting at the surrounding tables. "Yasmin, please relax," one of her friends pleaded, attempting to calm her down. Thinking back to her past life, Olivia now recalled this girl's full name was Yasmin Bree. Yasmin had always looked down on those she thought were weaker than her, and she stirred up trouble wherever she went. "How could I not be angry?" Those losers are smiling after I fell. Yasmin's eyes gleamed with a fiery desire to engage in a fight to the bitter end with Olivia, but Liv could tell Yasmin was also embarrassed by her fall. Yasmin didn't like looking clumsy in front of anyone. It makes me look weak, she thought. Serves her right for being rude and taking our food, Millie whispered. That's karma. Karma should be my new name, Olivia thought. Come on, Liv, let's go, Millie said, tugging on Olivia's sleeve. I've lost my appetite anyway, Millie confessed. Her previously cheerful mood shattered. She no longer felt inclined to continue waiting for food. Millie hated feeling singled out by people like Yasmin. In contrast, Olivia felt an undeniable hunger still lingering. It wasn't an appetite for food, though. It was a desire to teach Yasmin a lesson. And it was like seeing Yasmin fall and start bleeding didn't satiate it. I'll make you wish you'd walked away, Olivia thought, watching Yasmin. Come on, Millie nudged Olivia. She probably just wants attention. That's all people like that ever want. If anyone looks at me another second, they're gonna get their ass kicked, Yasmin yelled, hand clutching her nose. She began rolling up her sleeves with a growl. Yasmin! One of the guys she was with, who had been silent, finally spoke up. How much longer do you intend on prolonging this? Who cares who's looking at you? Come on, you're injured. Let's get to a doctor. Yasmin fell silent at her friend's words, her gaze burning into Millie's back. The atmosphere grew tense and awkward, and even the kids who had been silently engrossed in playing games on their phones went silent. It looked like maybe Yasmin was going to take her anger and embarrassment out on Millie by running and pushing her from behind. Don't even think about it, Olivia thought, watching. She was prepared to fling Yasmin against the wall, though she knew she'd risk everyone seeing her use her powers. Luckily, before she had to, Olivia watched as the food court's door swung open, and a man entered. Adam, Olivia thought. All the students seemed to see him entering at the same time and immediately began dispersing. It seemed that every teenager here knew when a teacher was in their midst and suddenly switched on their best behavior. Yasmin, too, adjusted and smiled at Adam as he approached. She didn't even go to Marshall. She went to a rival school, Randolph Prep. But it seemed like the presence of any authority figure had a calming effect on her. That was the thing about bullies. They only did it when they thought they couldn't get caught. Olivia watched as Yasmin grabbed a wad of napkins and then slinked away, forcing her friends to leave with her. Excuse me, can I get a chicken bowl? Adam asked the cashier at the Moroccan chicken stand, completely unaware that he had diffused the tension that had been unfolding before his entrance. He scanned the room before his gaze settled on the three girls seated at a nearby table. Ah, hey, you guys are here too. Yep, Olivia brought us here, Wendy answered, relieved to have an adult on their side. She had been dreading the prospect of a fight breaking out, but her anxiety began to calm down with Adam's arrival. Olivia has a keen eye for good food, Adam remarked, giving her an approving smile. This place serves the best chicken in the neighborhood. I haven't tasted anything better since it opened, and I've tried everything. Olivia and her friends laughed politely. Seeing a teacher outside of school was always weird, and making small talk was just as awkward. Well, it's been real, Olivia thought, ready to return to hanging with her friends. I'm so glad he's here, Millie thought, as Olivia eavesdropped. She could tell Millie was relieved his presence had forced Yasmin and her friends to leave. Oh, Mr. Reed, Adam? Millie said, still feeling strange calling a teacher by his first name. Do you know when the first track meet of the season is going to be? Olivia realized what Millie was doing. Adam was the assistant coach of Marshall High's track team, and since Millie felt safer keeping a teacher around until she was sure Yasmin Bree had vacated the premises and gone home, she was finding excuses to keep Adam around. It's in a few weeks, Adam replied. I'll have to check the exact date. Why? Just was curious, Millie said. Millie and Wendy were both on the track and field team. Liv, you should totally join, Wendy excitedly beamed. Olivia pouted. I'm not really good at running. Well, you could do the long jump or one of the field events, maybe, Adam said. We do need new athletes to join since so many of our team graduated last year. He smiled. We aren't even holding tryouts this year. Whoever wants to join is welcome. We'll take anyone, Olivia heard Adam think. Oh, you should totally join, Liv. Millie nodded. We'll have so much fun, and honestly, it looks so good on your college applications to be part of a team. Everything's for college applications, isn't it? Wendy shrugged. Welcome to Manhattan private high schools. Every kid works an 80-hour day just to get into an Ivy League. Olivia thought back to her last life, when her then best friend Pamela begged her to join the swim team with her, because Pamela liked a senior on the team and was too afraid to join by herself. Back then, Olivia begrudgingly joined because she wanted to make Pamela happy. But as soon as they were on the team, Pamela was put in the fast lane, and Olivia, who was a terrible swimmer, was put in the slowest lane. Then one day, after Pamela's crush talked to Olivia before a meet and laughed with her about some small, unmemorable, trivial thing, Olivia realized her own goggles were missing from her bag, and she had to swim a relay race without them. She ended up losing the race, which cost her team a first-place finish. Olivia never lived down the embarrassment and apologized profusely to her teammates, who shunned her for flirting with guys instead of properly preparing for her event. Looking back, Olivia could now see clearly that it was Pamela who had sabotaged her. But at the time, Olivia was convinced she had misplaced her goggles and ruined it for everyone, and she was angry with herself. Pamela was hurting me at every turn, Olivia thought now. And I was so naive and believed so much in our friendship, I never even saw it. Now, though, reading her friends' thoughts, she saw their intentions were pure. Millie just wanted to be able to hang out with her friends more, and Wendy was excited for Olivia to have more on her college application so they could potentially get into the best schools alongside each other and go off to college together. So, you going to join the team or what? Wendy asked excitedly. Oh, there's only one rule, Adam cut in. You just gotta be a team player. Liv is definitely a team player, Millie smiled. I actually met Olivia because someone wanted to steal my wallet. Olivia bravely alerted me when she totally didn't have to. As Millie launched into her story about Olivia and the pickpocket, Liv thought back to her old life again. She really was a victim back then. Now, though, she controlled her own destiny. As soon as she stepped foot inside the Johnson family mansion, Olivia heard a familiar voice. Olivia, why didn't you ask our driver to drive you home from school today? Where did you go? Rachel. Olivia stopped in her tracks. She had sort of gotten used to Rachel being gone in her spa the last few days. I was sort of hoping you'd need at least 6 months to recover from Sadie falling at your party, Olivia thought. Or a year, or 40 years. Too bad you're home so soon. Is Auntie Rachel already itching for something to do, so she decided to interrogate me? Olivia looked into Rachel's eyes. No, Auntie Rachel is simply concerned for you. Rachel smiled. Auntie doesn't need to worry. I won't be lost. I'm not a little girl. Olivia was about to return to her room after she finished speaking when a small figure jumped out from the corner and pounced towards Olivia's feet. It took a second for Olivia to realize it was Candy, Rachel's show dog that until recently had been on the show dog circuit with its trainer. Candy! Rachel saw Olivia's face, smiled devilishly, and waved at Candy. Come here, girl. Candy raised her fluffy bottom and her head before returning to Rachel's feet. Rachel whistled and she jumped onto Rachel's lap. At that moment, Olivia looked down at her ankle, which was stinging. She'd been bitten. Little bitch, Olivia thought, eyeing the dog. Olivia, this is my dog Candy. She's a purebred Maltese. Rachel smiled with pride. She just won an award at the Kennel Club Open in Connecticut last weekend. I'm so proud of her. Olivia calmly replied, Oh, Auntie, you must look closely after her then. She's precious, isn't she? I would hate for something to happen to her. Don't worry, Candy is very obedient. Rachel narrowed her eyes. One command from me, and she would go crazy on you. Rachel thought, and you deserve it too. You probably told her to bite me then, Olivia responded in her mind. Good. I'd hate to have to discipline her myself. Olivia gave a brisk smile. You wouldn't dare, Rachel thought. The moment Olivia turned to head upstairs, the dog started to bark madly. It was a high-pitched, annoying bark. Once Olivia disappeared around the corner, Rachel's lips curled up into a smile. She waited a few moments, petting her dog, then took out her phone and dialed a number. Hello, is this Xavier? It's Rachel. I'm ready to meet. The abandoned warehouse parking structure Rachel found herself in was dark, and she shivered as she looked around hesitantly. She questioned her decision to come here alone, to drive herself and tell no one where she was going. But of course, that was the point. She reluctantly stepped out of her Mercedes. Floor 4, she thought, looking around. Where is he? He said he would be here. Every corner seemed to be covered in shadows. Just when she was questioning her decision to come here, ready to turn and run back to her car and lock the door as quickly as possible, Rachel heard someone clear their throat. She froze. Rachel? A man's voice whispered. Who's asking? She said without turning around. I'm Xavier. Very well, she nodded. So you're here to discuss our arrangement. I am. Finally, she turned and she saw a large man walking towards her. Stay there, she said. She wasn't comfortable with him getting any closer. I'll leave this here. She held up the folder she was carrying, which had photos of Olivia, as well as a printout of her schedule. Rachel knew she could have given this guy a flash drive, but she didn't want a digital trail of any of this. Burn after reading, she said, putting the folder down on the ground between them and then motioning for Xavier to pick it up. Everything you'll need is in there. What Olivia looks like, her schedule, all of it. She watched as he looked through the file. Olivia has practice and goes to eat with friends sometimes without her driver. But I would say take some time to get used to her schedule. And then when she does something out of the ordinary, strike. Rachel quickly added, Oh, but be careful not to follow her when she's traveling to and from school with her little sister Monica. I don't want collateral damage. And please, whatever happens, it must look like an accident. Hit and run on an empty street at night, a fall. Perhaps she slipped and fell in a public bathroom at the train station, hit her head and bled out before anyone could find her. Some mishap. I don't care, really. But nothing that can be traced back to you, or me, you understand? Xavier nodded. Quite well, ma'am. She smiled. Wonderful. She stiffened her back, a slight chill running down her spine when she remembered what the man standing across to her was capable of. She wanted to get out of here as quickly as possible. But before she did, maybe it didn't hurt to remind him she was in charge of him to keep him in line. It was her money he needed, after all. Now get to work, she said. The following morning, Olivia made her bed and then headed downstairs to eat breakfast. As she sat down at the dining room table, she heard a sharp dog bark by her feet, startling her. She rolled her eyes. This early? She thought. Seriously? She looked down and saw that Rachel's dog was looking at her with hostility. Even Rachel's dog looks like it's trying to provoke me, as if Monica wasn't bad enough. I really didn't think there was someone in this house that could whine more annoyingly than her. Seeing Candy growling at her feet, Olivia knitted her brows unhappily. Oh, hello, my little cutie, Monica squealed upon entering the dining room. She called Candy over and held the dog in her arms, stroking its fluffy fur as she said, Did my mom tell you our Candy is a champion dog? Monica said with pride. She did, Olivia remarked dryly. Candy's like she's your mom's favorite daughter, the way Rachel talks about her. Monica pouted, offended. Are you saying she likes her dog better than me? She thought. She exhaled angrily, then shook her head. You're so rude. What did I say wrong? Olivia shrugged innocently. Never mind, Monica huffed. She held Candy and said to her in a little high-pitched voice, Some people are worse than dogs, aren't they? Monica glanced at Olivia out of the corner of her eye. Way, way worse than dogs, especially those who think too much of themselves. Olivia put her headphones in to drown out the sound of Candy's intermittent barking, then finished her eggs before leaving the dining room. Then she grabbed her school bag and strode through the front hall to her waiting driver. Rachel kept a close eye on Olivia's schedule over the next several days, looking for the right opportunity for her hitman to find Olivia alone. But Liv was constantly shuffling between school, her new track and field practice, and the Johnson mansion every day. This gave Rachel little good opportunity for Olivia to be alone long enough for Xavier to plan out an accident without someone seeing. Olivia was either with her driver, with her friends, or within earshot of any number of servants around the house, and Rachel was increasingly uncertain about who in the house felt loyalty to Olivia and who remained loyal to Rachel. "Don't worry," Rachel told herself. "This is only temporary. You will find an opportunity to rid yourself of her." She cringed, watching Olivia get home from practice, and then turn immediately to her studies. Rachel was happy Olivia wouldn't be around too much longer. If Liv started excelling in school or in sports, and suddenly had a shot of getting into Harvard or Princeton, Rachel feared she would outshine Monica, and that Michael would take such a strong interest in his eldest daughter, Rachel would no longer have an opportunity to kill her. "I only have so much time," Rachel thought, "but if I want to do this the right way, I have to be patient." The bell for first period rang at 8 o'clock in the morning, and Olivia yawned as Adam entered the classroom casually, like a morning breeze. He always took a few extra minutes to get settled, so his students milled about and took their seats at a lazy pace. Millie eagerly took the opportunity to walk up to his desk. "Hey, Mr. Reed, Adam?" He looked up at her. "Yes?" "Hey, I was wondering if you could tell me which events I'm going to be running in our first track meet. I know I should probably wait till practice, but it's just been on my mind all week, and I'll just keep worrying about it until I know." Olivia watched the exchange. Geez, she's an overthinker, Olivia thought, smiling to herself. Poor thing worries about everything. Adam shot Millie an understanding smile. "Don't worry, Millie. You aren't going to have to run the mile, if that's what you're worried about." He watched Millie exhale a large sigh of relief. "You said you want to do the hurdles, right?" Millie nodded. "Yes." "Then you'll be doing hurdles." He shrugged. "And don't take it too seriously. It's only our first track meet. Focus on having fun first and winning second, okay?" "I know, I just want to know what skills I should focus on." "I appreciate the work ethic and the initiative," Adam smiled. "And, do you know which hurdle event I'm running? The 200-meter or the 800-meter? Millie couldn't help herself. She had to know. "The 200, Adam assured her. "Pamela Cox will be running the 400. Olivia went still in her chair, her back straightening upon hearing this. Pamela's not on the track and field team, she thought. As if intuiting what she was thinking, Adam quickly added, "Pamela just joined our team, and she said she would be comfortable doing long distance, since no one else wants to. How's that for stepping up and taking one for the team?" Adam smiled at Pamela, who sat at her desk in the middle of the room. What the hell? Olivia thought. Until now, she'd done such a good job avoiding Pamela in this life. She looked at Pamela, trying to see what she was thinking. Now I can get closer to you girls, Pamela thought, watching Millie talk to the teacher. Now Olivia Johnson will have to talk to me and get to know me, and soon I'll win her over and she'll invite me over, and I'll get access to her life and to everyone she knows, and then people in Manhattan will know me as someone they should all connect with. You two should get to know each other, Adam told Millie and Pamela. I'm thinking of putting you on the hurdle relay together. You guys and 2 seniors. Olivia watched as a grin spread across Pamela's face. Ooh, I can't wait, she squealed, looking at Millie. Millie, you can come to my house upstate to practice doing baton handoffs if you want, or we could just stay late. Olivia's eyes narrowed. Pamela will do anything to get close to me, won't she? She read Pamela's thoughts. There's no reason you and Wendy should be Olivia's trusted best friends instead of me, Pamela thought while sizing up Millie. How does a loser like you get close to her anyway? It seems inconceivable. What do you even bring to the table? You're basically just nice and that's it. Pamela shrugged. Oh well, I'll use this loser to get to know Olivia, and then I'll convince Liv to drop her. Olivia's lips twisted into a frown. No, you won't, she thought. Olivia scrutinized Pamela's face and the fake, innocent, friendly expression she wore. Liv couldn't help but think back to the time Pamela sabotaged her on the swim team, taking her goggles in her last life, and she began brainstorming ways to get Pamela back. The sun was beginning to set, casting a warm golden glow over the track and field as Olivia, Millie, Wendy, and the rest of the track and field team gathered for their afternoon practice. Laughter filled the air as everyone chatted and stretched, their youthful energy palpable. "Millie," Adam called out, "you mind practicing the hurdle relay with Stacy, Pamela, and Angie?" "Oh," Millie said, embarrassed that she'd been caught laughing with her friends instead of paying attention to where she was supposed to be. "Sorry, yeah, be right there." Olivia watched as Millie obediently ran towards Adam and her hurdle relay team. There she is, forcing her way into my life, Olivia thought, eyeing Pamela. She inhaled deeply, then exhaled. Unbeknownst to Olivia, a figure stood in the shadows more than 400 yards away, his gaze fixated on her. Xavier's presence was both menacing and mysterious, and he had been observing Olivia for some time, his keen eyes taking note of every detail. As Olivia animatedly spoke with Wendy, Xavier remained hidden behind a cluster of trees, meticulously jotting down observations in a small notebook. His pen scratched across the pages, capturing snippets of conversation, gestures, and even the timbre of Olivia's laughter. Xavier's interest in her seemed almost obsessive, his notes revealing a disturbing level of scrutiny. "When I know everything, I can anticipate anything," he told himself. He had learned long ago that understanding a target's movements helped him understand when they were deviating from their normal schedule, so he could plan when to strike. Olivia, unaware of the watchful eyes upon her, stretched her limbs and joined her friends on the track. The team began their warm-up exercises while the hurdlers practiced, their bodies moving in synchrony as they jogged and stretched. Xavier's eyes followed Olivia's every move, his analytical gaze dissecting her athletic prowess with a mix of fascination and calculation. Olivia and Wendy, lost in their own conversations, failed to notice the unsettling presence lurking nearby. Xavier seemed captivated by the essence of Olivia, the essence that made her unique among the crowd. She kept looking over at another girl, yet she seemed adept at carrying on conversation at the same time. He wrote this detail down in his notebook. As the entire track team transitioned into their sprinting drills, Xavier continued his covert observation, his eyes tracing Olivia's figure as she dashed across the field. He noted her speed, her technique, and determined glint in her eyes. This information might prove necessary if I ever have to chase her. Xavier's notes were filled with an unsettling mix of clinical observations and personal musings, his words revealing a disturbing fixation on the girl before him. Pretty, but strange, something mysterious about her. Long, slender legs. When she looks at people, it's like she's looking into them, reading their souls. She has a beautiful smile. Olivia's laughter, carried by the breeze, reached Xavier's ears, causing him to pause momentarily in his note-taking. His gaze softened for a fleeting moment, replaced by a flicker of something resembling longing. But the respite was brief, as Xavier quickly refocused on his task, his pen once again scrawling across the pages of his notebook. As the practice drew to a close, the team huddled together, their voices hushed with exhaustion. Xavier, his cover threatened by their impending departure, retreated further into the shadows, his presence becoming almost ethereal. Olivia bid her friends farewell, unaware of the eyes that had been fixed on her throughout the afternoon. Xavier watched as Olivia walked away, her laughter fading into the distance as she got into her waiting Escalade. He remained hidden. The notebook, now filled with an unsettling collection of observations, was stowed away carefully. Then he slipped away silently, disappearing into the fading light, his presence vanishing as if it were a mere illusion. He cut across the street and then made his way into the nearby alley before disappearing into the subway below. Olivia, meanwhile, looked out her window, annoyed with Pamela's social climbing. She wondered how to thwart Pamela's ambitious plan to break into her tight-knit social circle. She sighed, completely unaware that she had just become the subject of a disturbing fascination, one that could unravel the fragile balance of her existence. Unaware that Xavier's presence in her life would continue to grow, remaining a sinister specter in the periphery of her life as he followed her, tracking her every move, noted her every interaction. In AP Government, Mr. Dickens interrupted the class with his high-pitched, sniffly voice to say, "Everyone, may I have your attention? I have an announcement." "Our test tomorrow is canceled," one smartass said. "You're going to introduce your mannequin girlfriend to us?" another whispered, inspiring snickers from the class. "No, he's going to admit he's a virgin," another whispered. Over laughter, yet another said, "He's an incel for sure." "That's enough," Dickens yelled. "The next student to speak out of turn gets detention." This silenced the class. Dickens smirked, then scanned the room as if relishing his power, before nodding. "Good. Now, as I was saying, I have an announcement. Our class will be welcoming a transfer student soon. Our principal has said that in a few weeks, this student will join us." "Is the transfer student male or female?" one guy asked. "And is she hot if it's a girl?" Again, everyone laughed. "How are the grades of the transfer student?" one of the smart kids asked. "Will it affect the grading curve?" "Geez, everyone here is obsessed with their standing," Olivia thought. "Where does the transfer student come from?" another kid asked. Olivia wondered this too. Is it Chris Jones? She thought. That could be good for her if it was. She looked around at all the other kids asking questions. It seemed like everyone was very curious about this student. "I'm not too sure," Mr. Dickens admitted. "And the transfer student is a girl. At least that's what I think I was told. Their name is Frances. She should be a girl, right? Sounds like one." "Frances? Yeah, maybe a girl." Everyone nodded, prompting Olivia to smile. She had forgotten all about Frances lately because of everything currently going on. But in her previous life, she met the new transfer student named Francis after the first few weeks of school. Francis was a male. He had a wealthy Scottish father, but his grades were very poor. In order to get the boy admitted, his father had donated a library to the school. In my last life, Francis liked Pamela a lot, Olivia remembered. He was so loyal to her, like a puppy dog following her around, wishing she'd just give him the time of day. After graduating from high school, he even followed Pamela to the London School of Economics when she studied abroad there. And after graduating from Dartmouth, Frances opened a company for her. Pamela could never have been so successful in the later stages of her life without Frances's help. Pamela accepted all of Frances's favors, but kept a distance from him. She would let him take her on dates to meet important fashion designers so she could sit front row at fashion shows, and then she'd leave with men she met at the shows. And Frances would just let her walk all over him. He always told himself Pamela would eventually come to her senses and be with him when she realized how much she cared. Olivia wondered if the Frances from her old life had ever wised up. Had he finally realized Pamela was using him? "I don't have to bother myself with the details of my former life," Olivia reminded herself. She thought about Frances's upcoming arrival with eagerness. "Now I only want to know what he'll do in this current life. With so many variables being different, would he still like Pamela? Or could I perhaps recruit him to be one of my friends, thwarting her plans yet again?" "Everyone," Mr. Dickens snorted unhappily. "Everyone be quiet, please. Now we must get back to work. About that test tomorrow." Mr. Dickens continued talking over the groans of his students, and Olivia returned to her studies. In the hallway at the end of school, Olivia carried her bag and waved goodbye to her friends when suddenly Adam called over her shoulder. "Olivia, Millie, wait a second." Olivia turned around, surprised. He sounded sort of authoritative, at least for him. "You two, come to my office, please." Olivia and Millie looked at each other, confused. "Do you know what this is about?" Olivia asked. "No, I was hoping you would," Millie said. She looked scared. She was such a good student and never got in trouble that anything approaching trouble left her trembling. She nodded and followed Adam to his office with Olivia. After the three of them stepped into the office, Adam secured it shut. "Guys, take a seat, please." He gestured to them. "No need, thank you, though." Olivia looked at Adam and asked, "Is everything all right, sir?" Adam laughed. "Of course, don't be nervous. I won't eat you. Besides, you both don't look very delicious. I prefer the Moroccan chicken down the road." Adam was clearly joking, but neither Olivia or Millie felt okay laughing until they knew what the nature of this meeting was about. "I just called you in to have a chat," Adam assured them casually. "Okay." Olivia and Millie sat down and looked at him curiously. What business did he have with them? "So, listen, I have 3 things to tell you. The first is that the transfer student that we were all told about today, our principal said that her grades are a little bad, especially in English, so he asked me to find someone to help her make up for it privately. Millie, you've got the best grades in our class, and Olivia, your class president. So I figured if anyone could help this Frances girl, it'd be one of you two." Adam looked at Olivia and Millie hopefully. "Of course, this also depends entirely on your willingness, but I really think you guys are the right ones for the job. If it does not affect my own ability to study, I don't mind." Millie thought about it and replied. Olivia, on the other hand, jumped at the opportunity. "Of course I'll help," she nodded enthusiastically. "This is perfect," she thought. "It's the exact excuse I needed to befriend Francis off the bat and poison his thoughts against Pamela. With him close to me, he'll never be able to get close to her. He won't even get the chance. I'll help Francis whatever way I can," Olivia added. "That is great to hear." Adam was obviously relieved. "I heard that Frances is a problematic student. She changed schools 6 times. It's only been a month since the start of high school, and she's already been suspended twice. This is the 3rd school she's attending, so let's hope this one sticks." "It's a he, not a she," Olivia thought. "But they'll see that once Frances arrives, I guess." "Adam," Millie worried, "are you looking for trouble for us?" "I am not," Adam laughed dryly. "This teacher believes in you. I believe in your abilities and character. But if you really don't want to tutor Frances or have any problems communicating with her, you can come to me at any time. I'll set her straight. Now, the other 2 things I had to tell you. The second is about the 4-person hurdle relay you're in, Millie. One of our seniors is off the team because she's on academic probation." He sighed. "Poor grades, so she can't compete in our upcoming meet. We were hoping you could fill in for her, Liv. Since you guys are so close anyway, we thought it'd be easy for you to find time to practice passing off the baton. Does that sound good?" "Sure," Millie said before Olivia could really think about it. "Good," Adam nodded. "So maybe you guys and Pamela and Stacy can get together before official practice?" Olivia froze. No. What if she was fated to get close to Pamela in this life, in spite of all her efforts, just like she had been in the last one? "No, I refuse," she thought. Adam seemed to notice her grimacing because he said, "Olivia, you seem to have some conflict going on with Pamela, right?" Olivia's eyes widened in surprise. "Crap, am I being that obvious?" "I've noticed you often keep your distance from her," Adam said, "even when she makes efforts to be nice to you." "Oh, God, I need to be better about not being so transparent," Olivia thought. Or did Pamela actually say something? Outside the closed door, Olivia suddenly heard Mr. Dickens loudly chastise someone in the hallway. "Which class are you from? Why are you hiding here? Are you eavesdropping? What a despicable thing to do." Olivia was closer to the door, so she tried to listen in on the thoughts of Dickens, so she could glean who he was talking to, though Olivia had a pretty good guess already. Screw it, she thought, and without warning she turned around and opened the door, only to see Dickens with his arms akimbo, questioning a girl who had fallen to the ground in a sorry state. Seeing the girl's face, the corner of Olivia's mouth raised slightly, and a trace of sinister pleasure danced in her eyes. "Pamela," she thought, "you were eavesdropping on us." "I was just passing by," Pamela quickly muttered. A trace of panic flashed across her eyes. "Oh, you were just passing by?" Dickens frowned and said, "I clearly saw you crouching in front of Mr. Reed's office door. What is it you're doing exactly?" Did Pamela tell Adam that my friends and I are excluding her, or bullying her, or something, and then get him to add me to the relay race in order for us to hang out with her? Olivia wondered. She could see Pamela doing such a thing. forcing her way into a group by pretending to be the victim. She knew Adam was all about making people feel welcomed and included, so if a student came to him with some sob story about feeling like they were too shy to make friends, he would totally force other people to hang out with her. "No, I was only crouching down to tie my shoelaces." Pamela continued to quibble and even shook her feet for emphasis. Fortunately, she had foresight. When she squatted down to eavesdrop, she had deliberately untied her shoelaces. So she's not completely dumb, Olivia thought. Just halfway. "Look, they're still untied," Pamela demonstrated to Mr. Dickens in a mournful voice, pretending to play victim. "Really now?" Dickens still felt that Pamela was lying to him, but he did not have any evidence. He just frowned and said, "Well, then hurry up and tie them and then go on your way." Pamela quickly tied up her shoelaces and glanced at Olivia at the corner of her eye. She reached out and tucked her long hair behind her ears before scurrying forward. "Damn Mr. Dickens," Pamela thought as Olivia listened in. "Ruining my plan to see how the girls reacted to Adam's suggestion they include me more." She fretted over the possibility that her plan to make Olivia her friend might fail. Quickly, though, her thoughts turned to the transfer student Frances that Mr. Dickinson mentioned earlier. Pamela had heard the rumors about Frances' former expulsions and knew that if Frances had gotten into Marshall High after all that, she must be super rich. You can only bypass admissions rules like that if you're like a mega billionaire, Pamela thought. She pursed her lips and looked out the window. Could it be that this Frances kid is the daughter of some business giant? They didn't tell us her last name, but if she really is the daughter of some bigwig, then I wouldn't need to care about making a good impression on Olivia anymore. Thinking of this, Pamela's eyes were filled with hope once again. She would fight hard for her own future with renewed zeal now. She straightened her back and tipped her chin up as she walked down the hall. I, Pamela Cox, am destined for great things, and one way or another I'm going to figure out how to get them. Everyone else in my life is merely a stepping stone. She smiled to herself. And if this Frances somebody gives me the chance to make something of myself, then I won't even need Olivia Johnson anymore. And I'll make her pay for ignoring me in the first place. Olivia rolled her eyes. Not if I get you first, Pam, she mused. Olivia couldn't stand the thought of Pamela using anyone the way she had used Olivia in her past life. When she looked up, Olivia saw even Adam was weirded out after seeing Pamela eavesdropping outside his office too. He was frowning, but Olivia saw in his thoughts that he was conflicted. I shouldn't judge my students too harshly, but Pamela's behavior certainly was disappointing just now, if she was eavesdropping on us. I'm trying to help her make friends, but maybe the problem is she's coming on too strong. There's a difference between over-eagerness and aggressive stalking. Adam made a mental note to talk to Pamela about her overzealous approach to making friends, but then shifted his focus and attention back to what he'd called Olivia and Millie in here to discuss in the first place. Anyway, the third thing I wanted to mention is a home visit. A home visit? Olivia and Millie said in surprise at the same time. There was no such thing in my previous life, Olivia thought. Why would a teacher want to visit my home now? Especially the madhouse that is the Johnson family mansion. Are we sure we need to do that? Millie asked, suddenly embarrassed. I don't want Adam to know that I'm the daughter of the principal of Marshall High. Olivia smiled, thinking, everyone knows who your dad is, Millie. Though she didn't say so aloud. She knew Millie didn't want others to assume she did so well in school simply because of her father. As if the teachers don't already know you're the boss's daughter. Olivia wished Millie would see that, despite her father, Millie did well because she was incredibly smart and a hard studier. It's nothing formal, Adam assured the girls to assuage their fears. A home visit is just for me to be able to chat with your parents. Usually I don't even interact with or disturb the students. It's just a way for me to assess the needs and personal differences of all my students, to be able to give everyone the attention they deserve. Adam smiled. I'm going to go to everyone's home. But since Olivia is the class president, I just thought I'd start with you. And Millie, I figured since you're such a good student, I'd go to yours second. You can go back tonight and tell your parents, so I won't have to make an official call if you'd like. Olivia nodded. She was surprised that this was a normal thing for Adam. But it also made sense. In private schools, rich parents loved feeling like their kids were getting special attention. In my previous life, Rachel must have spoken to Adam directly without my knowledge and smeared my reputation without her even knowing, Olivia thought. Or maybe my test cheating scandal erupted before my home visit ever took place. Even so, Adam didn't give up on me in my past life. This made Olivia even more touched and grateful to him. Adam, must you pay a home visit? Millie bit her lips. She was extremely reluctant. Olivia could tell Millie wanted to talk to Adam alone, about her misgivings about him having a one-on-one with her dad, and how the other students might see that as preferential treatment because of who her father was. So Olivia nodded. Why don't I, head home and let you talk to Adam alone, Millie? Olivia asked, wanting to give her friend the privacy to talk about her insecurities. Okay, sounds good. Millie nodded. The two friends hugged, and Olivia bid her teacher farewell, and soon collected her books from her locker. On the sidewalk outside Marshall High, she looked for her driver. Because of her evolving track and field practice schedule and her burgeoning social life, Olivia now had a different dedicated driver in the evenings than her half-sister. They were always driven to school in the mornings by the same chauffeur, but after school, Monica went directly home or to whatever after-school activities she had planned, so Olivia could do her own thing. Morris, she said to her driver after climbing into the back seat this afternoon. There was no track practice because the seniors were on a retreat this week. Can you take me to the mall on the way home? I want to go shopping for better running shoes. Of course, miss. Morris nodded. Olivia leaned against the car door and looked out the glass window. Soon they arrived at the shopping mall in the city center. Morris parked the car and turned his head to ask, Miss, do you need me to accompany you inside? I can help you carry things. No need, Morris. Just wait for me here. Olivia opened the car door. Okay, miss. Be careful. He nodded. All right. Olivia answered and walked straight into the mall. Olivia didn't notice that across the street, a black Audi A4 pulled up and parked in the lot behind the mall. The man in the driver's seat watched Olivia intently. Then he opened the car door as soon as Morris pulled away from the curb to find a parking spot himself. The man followed Olivia into the mall. Now is my chance, Xavier thought. He had been assigned to trail her for a while now, but today was the first opportunity he found that she deviated from her normal schedule in any meaningful way. She was alone finally, with no one to watch or protect her. Olivia entered the mall, unaware someone was following her. As she walked, she put in her headphones, preferring to listen to upbeat music instead of hopping into the thoughts of random passerbys. Usually, crowded malls like this were annoying for thought reading anyway. It was all thoughts about sales or insecurities, or about how someone looked in a particular outfit in the fitting room, or people going through to-do lists in their heads. Music was far more entertaining. Olivia took the elevator to the Nike store on the 3rd floor and tried on 2 pairs of running shoes, as well as 4 pairs of pants. She didn't really find anything that she particularly loved, so she chose to keep looking. When she went out the door, she accidentally collided with a man who was looking at his phone at the door. Sorry, she mumbled, scooching past Xavier without ever realizing he had been watching her. She went to the adjacent store. Welcome, the clerk said. Looking for anything specific today? Running shoes, Olivia replied. Something light and breathable. Ah, yes, I have just the thing. The cashier went to work scouring her inventory until she brought a pair of women's pink and black shoes. How about these? This is the new model this year. Generally speaking, the main function of these is to reduce shock. It has a buffer effect on the knees and feet, which can protect the body. If you're running a lot, then I strongly recommend this one. This one is also one of the better ones sold in our shop. You can also take a look at the other colors if you'd like to. Do you have it in a size 6? Olivia asked, intrigued by the sales pitch. Of course, the guide nodded. She looked at Olivia's feet, then disappeared and back to go retrieve the correct pair. Olivia was strolling around the store. When she turned around, she saw a middle-aged man standing not far behind her in the mirror. He was playing with his phone while looking in her direction. There's something off about him, she immediately thought. Why is he in a women's shoe store watching me? Olivia couldn't quite remember if she'd seen him in the last store too, but instantly the hair on the back of her neck went up, as if she sensed danger. She concentrated, trying to read his thoughts, when suddenly the store clerk returned with her shoes. Alrighty, we ready to try these on? Olivia's palms were sweating. She looked around and then smiled awkwardly at the shop assistant and said, Actually, I need to go to the restroom. I'll be back. The clerk paused for a moment and nodded. Okay, just go straight out and you'll see the restroom is on the left side hall, back behind the food court. There's a sign pointing that way, so it's pretty easy to find. Thank you. Olivia nodded and smiled. Then she turned and walked out the door. When she passed by the man, Olivia pretended to be calm and tried to appear natural and unafraid. As she swept by him, she thought she heard him thinking the words, "She's smaller up close." Is he thinking about me? She wondered. She could sense his eyes on her even as her back was to him. Seeing her walk towards the bathroom, the man immediately followed. Olivia walked at a gentle clip, not wanting to draw attention to herself, all while looking around to find a place to escape. She was nervous that if she ran now, the man behind her would definitely know that he had been discovered, and he was close enough to tackle her. She wanted to put some distance between herself and him, and then get close enough to Morris's car to make a break for it. She looked down at her phone. I should call Morris, she thought, and tell him I need him to come and meet me inside. But when she pulled her phone from her backpack, Olivia saw it was dead. Crap! Olivia was unsure what to do. She realized she'd been walking down a corridor, and when she glanced back, the man was a safe distance behind her, but still following her. She originally thought this corridor led to the other half of the mall, where the movie theaters and arcade were, but now she worried she was entering a dead-end hallway. I should keep going, she thought, hoping then when she turned the corner, the hallway would lead to the arcades, and she could disappear inside, cloaked in darkness and masked by the sounds of games dinging and kids playing. After Olivia turned the corner, she panicked. In front of her was the restroom, but beyond that, it was a dead end. Crap, crap, crap! She looked around quickly and spotted a half-closed door by the wall. A storage room. Seeing this door, her eyes lit up. After entering, she immediately locked the door shut in panic, but this door was old and seemed worn down by time. Even after closing it, it slowly opened back a crack. Olivia frowned, but did not dare to reach out and adjust the door. She made sure it was locked and sat with bated breath, worried that the man would come check the knob soon. Olivia clenched her fists and swallowed nervously. She didn't know why exactly this man had targeted her. Does he want to rob me or maybe kill me? Or does he want to kidnap me because of who I am, so he can ransom me and force my father to pay him money? She shivered. How long has he been following me? Was this person acting alone, or was he part of a group, or working with someone else? She didn't know anything. She only knew that her hands were trembling, and she was terrified. Seeing the man's shadow pass by the door, Olivia immediately closed her eyes and muttered in her heart, I want to know what he's thinking. As if on cue, a gruff voice sounded in her head. Did she go to the restroom? When she comes out later, I'll finish her off with one slash. She's just a high school student, yet she wasted countless hours of my time. Damn it, I don't get paid enough to chase little children around. Olivia gulped in fear and opened her eyes. So he is a killer, she thought. He had just confirmed it. She stood frozen for either a few seconds or an entire lifetime. She wasn't sure how much time had passed. She could only feel her heartbeat thumping in her throat. Then she gently took a step back to get as far away from the door as possible. When she did, Olivia suddenly felt warm hands wrap around her arms. What the hell? She thought, stunned. Her face immediately turned pale. She was about to scream when the person behind her immediately stretched out their hands and tightly covered her mouth to silence her. Olivia felt her cheeks and jaw get pinched so tight by the hands clasped around her that they ached. She didn't know what was worse, the killer outside the door, or this mysterious person behind her, clutching her mouth shut, threatening to suffocate her. Help! Olivia thought, terrified. She was unable to scream because her mouth was covered. Morris, please, come now, help me! She wondered whether she could use her powers of telepathy to tell her driver that she was in trouble. She clenched her fists and her nails nervously dug into her soft palms and tried to at least use her powers to force the person behind her off her. But two large hands were fixed like a vice over her mouth and nose. She could focus on nothing but trying to breathe. In the narrow storage room, she felt a layer of cold sweat forming all over her body. Don't make a sound, the person behind her warned in an intimidatingly calm whisper. Olivia nodded and tried to force herself to calm down. Although she repeatedly warned herself not to panic, she was convinced that if she didn't react appropriately, she would die in a matter of minutes. She tried to be brave, but her trembling body betrayed how terrified she was right now. The person behind Olivia whispered in her ear, I'm not going to hurt you, just don't speak and stop squirming, okay? Stay still. What other choice do I have? Olivia thought, acquiescing. She didn't know what was scarier, being locked in here with this person who held her, or running out of here into the arms of a stalker she was sure was going to try and kill her. Nodding her head slightly, Olivia wondered what the person behind her was even doing here in the first place. Had they been waiting for her? No, that's impossible. How would anyone know I'd duck in here? Were they hiding from someone too? Knowing the man behind her also wished to remain soundless and undetected too, though, made Olivia feel slightly safer. It meant he wouldn't give up her position to the man outside this closet. Olivia tried to focus on the thoughts of the man behind her to glean what exactly he was doing in here and who he was. I think she will be quiet, she heard him think. Seems like she wants to be found in here about as little as I do. Olivia felt him slowly release his hands from around her mouth, and she inhaled heavily, relieved. Finally, regaining freedom, she immediately took a small step forward and pulled away from the man's grasp. Her face was somewhat numb. After a moment, she slowly turned her head to look at the man behind her. In the sliver of light that came in from the opening in the door, she was able to make out the features of his face. Olivia was instantly stunned. You, she thought. How? At the same moment, the man saw Olivia looking at him, and he too looked taken aback for a moment. But then his attention turned back to the door, clearly more focused on the situation beyond the storage closet. Olivia pursed her lips and whispered in a voice that only the two of them could hear. Of all the storage closets in all the malls, I didn't think I'd run into you here, Chris Jones. He smirked slightly at her glib joke, grateful for a tiny bit of levity that broke the palpable fear in the room for just a split second. Were you being chased too? Chris whispered. Olivia's brow furrowed. Too? She looked him in the eye. You were being chased as well? She was incredibly confused. By the same person? She wondered. What is happening? Chris went back to ignoring her, and his eyes stayed glued on the door. Within moments, Olivia saw the shadows of 5 people pass by the door. Their footsteps were crisp but somewhat hurried. It seemed like they were looking for something. Chris's body immediately tensed up. His fists were tightly clenched and his brows knitted together. Olivia felt a subtle change in the atmosphere as he held his breath. She immediately closed her eyes beside him to listen to the voices of the people outside the door, hoping that even from here maybe she could hear what they were thinking too. Hey, what about that closet over there? One of the people thought. Have we tried in there yet, that door? When she heard that, Olivia immediately opened her eyes. The man who was chasing after her was still waiting for her outside the women's restroom, thinking she'd gone in there. But if this group of 5 men trailing Chris Jones found him in this closet, it was possibly only a matter of time before they would draw Olivia's stalker's attention too. And even if he didn't see her for some reason, what if the 5 people after Chris harmed her alongside Chris? Suddenly, the door started shaking and Olivia froze. Somebody was rattling the doorknob from the outside. No, Olivia thought, terrified. They were trying to get in. It was only a matter of time before she and Chris were discovered. I don't know how to use my powers on 5 people at once, she panicked. How are we going to survive this? Thinking on her feet, Olivia gritted her teeth and then suddenly turned around and ripped off Chris's coat. He stood stunned as she roughly tore at his shirt, too. His buttons rattled to the ground. What are you doing? Chris whispered in a low, perplexed voice. When she didn't answer, he said, Hey, I said, what are you doing? Olivia did not stop and immediately pulled Chris in front of her, so the two of them switched positions and he was now standing nearest the door. Then she pulled Chris by the shoulders so he was facing her, his back to the door. At that moment, the 5 men, who had been looking for Chris, kicked open the door. The man at the front of the group was instantly stunned when he looked into the dark closet, now illuminated by the lights of the hallway outside. Oh, God, he thought. What did I just walk in on? In front of him was a startling, revealing scene. A young man whose shirt was half gone, his back to the door, embracing a young girl who looked up in panic, utterly embarrassed. Oh, God, I've just kicked in the door on 2 lovebirds in the throes of passion. The man turned bright red, embarrassed. Sorry, he muttered before closing the door again. Was that him? One of the 5 men asked. The guy we're after? No, the guy we're looking for is alone, another replied. That guy is in there with a girl. Jesus, one said. Kids today are getting so bold. I mean, a mall closet? Can't they wait? Olivia could hear the guys outside laughing, the awkwardness of what they'd stumbled upon settling in. Are we even sure he came down this way? The first of the 5 men said. No, one of the other men answered. That's what I was saying before. I thought he was still on the 1st floor. It was you who thought you spotted him up here. Jesus, come on, guys. We're going to get reamed for losing him. Let's go back to the 1st floor. Olivia heard the men shuffling back down the hallway, and she let out a sigh of relief. After closing the door behind the men, Chris Jones looked at Olivia, coughed a few times in awkwardness. Olivia glanced at Chris, half naked before her, and whispered, Sorry about your shirt. I just figured a diversionary tactic was maybe the best strategy. He let loose a bashful, slight smile. No, yeah, he nodded. Yeah, thank you. He clearly felt self-conscious now that the adrenaline wasn't rushing through him anymore, and he realized just how exposed his chest was. Thank you for thinking quickly like that. You saved me. You don't need to thank me, she replied. As Chris eyed the door, Olivia quickly added, But before you head out there again, I may need you to repay the favor, immediately. Chris looked at her, perplexed, a brow raising. I still have my stalker to deal with, she thought. So much time had passed, he had probably realized by now that Olivia wasn't in the women's restroom, and he could be lurking anywhere nearby looking for her now. Or he had grown impatient waiting. Just as she thought this, Olivia's mind flashed quickly into the head of her stalker. As it turned out, the woman's restroom shared a wall with this storage closet, so Xavier was close enough to Olivia now that she could jump into his thoughts. She quickly discovered that while she was busy tricking the 5 men on Chris's tail, the hitman who had followed her had devised a plan of his own to enter the women's restroom next door to find her. So he had grown tired of waiting, she realized. Xavier was shouting that his daughter was missing as he rushed into the restroom to check for Olivia. Where are you? He thought, impatiently and hurriedly opening stall after stall. There seemed to be an infinite amount of stalls in this room, which only agitated Xavier more. I'll check each and every last one if I have to, but I'm going to find you. The appearance of a large man in the restroom terrified the other women in there. They screamed when they saw him, and most ran out. But when they heard the man anxiously shouting that his daughter was gone, and he even described Olivia's appearance, the remaining women all shook their heads empathetically and told them that they had never seen his daughter in the ladies' room. Some even helped him search the remaining stalls for her out of pity. Xavier called out Olivia's name so loudly that she could hear him clearly through the wall in the storage closet. But because she couldn't see him, she couldn't figure out how to use her powers to hurt him from where she stood in the dark storage closet. Chris Jones shot her a dire look. That man, That's not actually your father looking for you, is it? She shook her head nervously. No. Looks like you really do need saving, Chris whispered. He immediately eyed the door, preparing to open it and spirit Olivia out before the man calling her name could find her. But it was too late. Olivia could hear Xavier think, "Damn it, she's not in any of these stalls. Where is she?" And then she heard his footsteps rushing out of the restroom as he searched for her. Olivia became more and more nervous as she looked at Chris, fear in her eyes, and hesitantly choked out the words, "I beg you, you have to get me out of here." It was too late. The sound of Xavier approaching the storage closet interrupted them, and once again, the knob turned. Chris was quick. He immediately took off Olivia's cardigan and tore her shirt at the same time. Then he picked her up and swung her legs around his waist. Olivia reached out and reflexively wrapped her arms around Chris's neck to hold on. To prevent her from falling, he held on to her lower back. She immediately felt extremely awkward, but she knew what he was doing. They'd practically done the same thing just minutes before, and somehow it had actually worked, so she had no choice but to go with it again now. It was a miracle this ruse worked the first time. She panicked nervously. "Please, God, please let this work again. Please, 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 please." She whispered this prayer over and over and over until she felt the door creaking open. Just as it did, Chris whispered in Olivia's ear so only she could hear, "Hold tight. I wouldn't be forgiven by either of our fathers if I don't get you back home safe." She couldn't quite tell, but it sounded sort of like Chris was actually enjoying some part of this. It was too dark to see his face, but it almost sounded like he was smiling. She had no time to contemplate this, though, because she suddenly felt a looming presence behind her. Xavier had entered the storage closet, and he gazed at Olivia menacingly.